Everypony, I'm Fauna Joy. Pinkie Pie. Pinkamena Diane Pie. Such a treasure trove of mystery she is. Most everything about her can be written off as her own special sort of magic as a party pony, since we've now seen two other ponies with her same special talent display similar brands of randomness in the show, namely Cheese Sandwich and Party Favor. However, there is one thing that has yet to be explained, and it can't be explained away as a party pony thing, mainly because it has to do with her origins. For those who missed it, Pinkie Pie grew up on a farm, but not just any old farm, a rock farm. None of the ponies she interacts with think this is weird. In fact, they take it in stride just as simply as though she'd stated she grew up on an apple orchard like Applejack. This seems to imply that the Pie family rock farm isn't an oddity in Equestria. But because of this casual acceptance, we're never told exactly what the purpose of a rock farm is. Over the course of the show, we're given a couple of peeks into how it works, though. The first is when the concept's introduced to us. Pinkie makes mention of rotating the rocks from one field to another. Crop rotation is a rather common practice in real-world farming. Farmers alternate which fields they plant which crop in from time to time to be sure they're not exhausting the resources and the soil. But rock farmers aren't rotating the fields in which they plant a new crop, they're moving their active crop from one field to another, something that even farmer ponies can't do. After all, in the episode Over a Barrel, we see Applejack and the others moving Bloomberg in exactly the same way we move trees in our world. The tree is carefully uprooted, the roots are bagged with soil, and the tree is carefully transported to be sure nothing harms it. The next look we get into rock farm life comes in the episode Magic Duel. Trixie proclaims that after her humiliation during the incident with the Ursa, she was reduced to taking a job on a rock farm. In that flashback, we see her breaking open a rock before being pointed towards a larger pile, the implication being that she should continue with the rest of the pile. So, one aspect of rock farm life involves taking larger rocks and making them into smaller rocks. But why? Do they ship the rocks out to other parts of Equestria? That's not explained either. Our last look into rock farm life comes from the recent episode Hearthbreakers, where the Apple family heads over to the Pie farm for hearthwarming celebration. Now, we don't actually see how the farm operates in this episode, but we can at least make a few inferences from what we're shown. For example, when Applejack and Pinkie Pie are searching for the obsidian stone, they're searching through a well-established crystal mine at the bottom of a very deep quarry. So, what do we get when we put all this together? Well, first it seems that rock farms take over the job of mines and quarries in the pony world. After all, they have to get their building materials somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if the pit that Applejack knocked Holder's boulder into is where the Pie family does most of their work. The novel Pinkie Pie and the Rock and Pony Palooza Party lends some credence to this. The novel is based around the story that, due to the return of the Crystal Empire and the sudden massive influx of gems it's brought with it, the Pie family has lost all business and are going to lose their farm. At one point in the book, the family are walking by a path that's been bedazzled with Crystal Empire gems, and Igneous Rock remarks that it's that sort of thing that's taken their business away. So, at least some of their rocks are sent out for landscaping. It stands to reason they also do business with construction companies, assisting in building new structures that need to be built of sturdy, trustworthy materials. I would also think they do occasional metal work as well, or at the very least, they mine and supply metal workers with ore that can be smelted and turned into building materials that can be used in large, thriving metropolises like Manhattan to build skyscrapers. And they do it all by hoof. Rather than using heavy machinery, they rely solely on the natural strength of earth ponies. They also take over the job of processing facilities that take the leftover rocks and minerals and pulverize them for use in other areas, such as repairing any damage they've done to their environment. After all, ponies are very conscientious when it comes to the environment around them, so it wouldn't even occur to them to develop heavy machinery to do all of this when they can rely on the strength of their own hooves. But what about rotating fields? Why would they need to rotate rocks of all things from field to field? This is the part that's perplexed fans the most because this implies that rock farms are actual farms and not just rock processing places. That raises the question, though, how do you farm rocks? There are theories stating that since we've seen Maud and her family eating rocks with no problem at all, maybe they send rocks out to the rest of Equestria for other ponies that can eat them. Though I don't see this as being very likely. Consider the main six's reaction when they see Maud eat the rock that falls off of Rarity's hat. They're stunned that she manages not only to eat it, but not even notice that it's not normal food. This tells me that being able to eat rocks isn't a very common occurrence in ponies. Applejack couldn't even manage to eat the stone in her rock soup during Hearthbreakers, and we could probably assume that this is a type of stone that'd be easier to eat than most. Pinky has mentioned rocks that are edible in past episodes, after all, and in the Pinky novel I mentioned earlier, a rock cake recipe was featured at the Rockpalooza. But even there, it was treated as a novelty and not something that was common for other ponies to eat. This gives me the feeling that edible rocks are somewhat rare and usually reserved for those on the farm. Another very common and popular theory is that they're breaking the rocks up in search of gems. The theory relates to why the rocks need to be rotated around and ties into a theory about how Earth Pony magic works. There are many theoretical variations into the way it works, but the core pretty much stays the same. The theory goes like this: Earth ponies have an inherent magic to make all things grow. This includes gems. They can cause gems to grow unconsciously just by walking around, and this is why Equestria is bursting with the things. But they can also focus their magic to encourage things to grow faster, the way Smart Cookie did in the Hearthwarming play. Rock farmers like the Pie family use this ability to encourage gems to grow faster and more frequently. They do this by handling the rocks they've mined and concentrating on the specific bits in the rock they want to grow and change. They do this while they're moving them from field to field, and when the time is right, they crack them open to harvest the gems. Another reason that's been brought up to rotate the rocks is to avoid theft. Personally, I really like this theory. It fleshes out the Earth ponies as a species and gives a very in-depth explanation as to what rock farms do. The only description of the magic Earth ponies possess that we have ever gotten from the show is strength. That's it. Yeah, the Earth ponies have been shown to be incredibly strong, but it takes more than physical strength to keep apple trees in constant fruit and to make a seed sprout into a leafing plant in seconds. In the season 1 episode Applebuck Season, Applejack referred to said season as though it was a once-a-year occurrence. However, through each season of the show, she and the rest of the Apple family are seen harvesting apples seemingly throughout the year, with the exception of winter. So there has to be something going on in Equestria to make these trees fruit so often. What if the seedling sprouting in Smart Cookie's hoof wasn't some sort of special effect in the play? What if Applejack actually brought that seed to sprout right there on the stage? And with no noticeable shock from any pony watching, that would suggest that this is a common ability of Earth ponies, or at least for farmer ponies. Apply that same ability to a rock rich with the right mix of chemicals, and I believe the fans are right in thinking a rock farmer could easily grow natural gems. Smart Cookie's ability to just pick up some dirt and tell by holding and looking at it that it was fertile suggests to me that Earth ponies also have the ability to sense to some degree what minerals and chemicals are in the rocks or soil. So, rock farmers can tell which gem will come from what rock while they're rotating them as opposed to shooting in the dark and hoping for the best. All in all, I think what little the show has given us and what the fans have filled in mesh really well. I'll be honest, my sister, who is a passing fan of the show, laughed at me and others for thinking the show writers put this much thought into how the pony world works. But really, I think they do. After all, there are very few discontinuities from episode to episode, especially now that we're so far into it. And even those that are there are very minor. The world we're given in Friendship is Magic is wonderfully fleshed out, and what the writers can't come up with themselves is often filled in by the amazingly creative fans. I must say, I'm very happy to be tossing my bits into the ring. Until next time, I'm Fauna Joy, flying off. In the flashback, we see her breaking open a rock before being tointed? How do you toint someone? In the next flashback, there was only one flashback. The novel Pinkie Pie and the Rock and Pony Palooza Party lends some credence to this. And that was very stilted. I should do that again. So, what do we get when we put all this together? Well, first it seems that I get all the way through that and then I screw up on the first part. Rather than using heavy machinery, I third machinery. This raises the question though. How do you rock farms? How do you rock farms? But it takes more than physical strength to keep apple fruit? What if that seedling sprouting in Smart Cookie's hand, she doesn't have hands. Why did I write that? Apply that same ability to a rock rich with the right. Why do I do this to myself? All in all, I think that what little words